Today we're talking about energy, and I'm so excited to talk about this topic because it's been such a huge change for me, and it was something that was so simple. When you have something that you're doing and you're like trying to put all of this effort into making something happen, and somebody comes along and says, "Oh, if you're just like this much off." Like all you need to do is just like change it just like a little bit and it'll work. And this has been one of those things that's like it was like that for me. It's kind of like if you've ever done yoga, a lot of times, you watch people do the poses, and so you do the poses yourself and you think that you're doing it right. And if you go to a class in person, the yoga teacher is like, can I just help you a little bit because you're just off just a pinch. Like if you just turn your foot this way and you arch your back a little bit differently, it'll make a huge difference. Um, so that's kind of like what energy is. It's a tiny little change, a tiny little shift that makes this massive difference in your life. So a lot of us, when we're focused on our daily tasks, a lot of what we do is habit, which we've spoken about in day one and day two. Um, we don't really have to think about a lot of the things that we do, right? And most of our day to day stuff, we're focused on work, chores, paying bills, obligations. Even when you go to the grocery store, you probably don't even have to think about it, right? But there are other things that you do too that maybe you put a little bit more effort into. If you're working out, if you're doing yoga. And people always tell you too, they're like, you need to take time to live a healthy lifestyle. You need to make sure that you get outside every single day and get some exercise. But how much energy do you actually put into, or how much effort do you put into internal work? How much time do you actually spend thinking about what's going on inside of your head and how you can improve it? Every successful person that I know of, all of the people that I look up to, they have a daily practice of yoga or meditation or some type of internal work. I love Kathy Heller. You'll hear me talk about her a million times. I absolutely adore her. Gabby Bernstein is all about meditation. Another one of my favorites is Evan Carmichael. He talks about meditation as well. They know that it's just as important to take care of your mind as it is important to take care of your body. So, the first thing that I want to do today, since we don't really spend enough time taking care of our minds, and maybe a lot of you haven't even been exposed to meditation. I know that I hadn't until just a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, almost 3 months ago now. So I want to just give you a little bit of taste of what that is. It's really more like a visualization, that you never know what you can find and what you can come up with when you explore this type of thing. So it's just going to take a couple of minutes, and we're just going to sort of find our center. So I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. Just go with me. I want you to just do something really, really radical for me. I want you to see if you can picture yourself sitting on a park bench, talking to a friend, and you're just in the moment. Somewhere in your future, it could be a week from now, it could be a year from now, it could be 6 weeks from now. But you're there in your future self, your higher self. You're connected fully with your future self. And I want you to see yourself sitting on the park bench. And it's like one of those perfect days where it's 70 degrees outside and the sun's shining. And you're talking to your friend and you're so happy, so genuinely happy. And I just want you to look at your posture and the enthusiasm that's coming off of your face. And there's like this soft glow that's just sort of exuding from every aspect of you. And you're talking to your friend and you're telling your friend what your life is like in this moment. And you're telling her what you're doing with your days and how you feel about what you're doing with your days and how you're showing up and how you're helping people and how you feel so confident about the things that you're doing with your life and how you're using all of your talents. You're using them every single day. And you can't believe how easy it is and how natural it feels to be using these gifts that you know have been inside of you, but maybe you just didn't have the courage to use them before. And you're talking to your friend and you're just so happy. And you look like the version of you that is the most relaxed. And you look as though you just came off a long week vacation. And your cheeks are sun-kissed. And there's a softness about you. And I want you to just picture this. And I want you to feel what it feels like. What would it feel like to live that feeling, to live in that moment? And I don't want you to get hooked or caught in the analytical brain. Don't analyze it too much. Just feel what's happening in that moment. Don't get hooked on all of the details. Just focus on the feelings. How will this happen based upon everything that you've lived up until now? Don't get stuck on all of the details because it's not really realistic. It's not practical. I want you to allow your body to respond to a new mind, a mind that's fully firing and wiring on all of the positive things. Now, the emotional response to those thoughts that allow you to fully drop into the happiest version, the most effortless version of you, being you. What does that feel like? Can you fully feel it? Now, can you turn that up an extra 10%? Can you turn it up an extra 25%? What would that feel like? Okay, now you can open your eyes. That feeling that you're feeling in that moment, that's the energy that we're looking for. That's the space that you want to live in. That's where the good things happen. And we spend so much time in the space that we're in every single day that's just normal and routine that a lot of times we lose sight of the fact that we can live in a better place, that there are those things that happen to us, there are those times in our lives where everything feels amazing. And wouldn't it be better if your life, if your normal was that moment, was those feelings every single day, rather than what you woke up with this morning? All of that, those feelings, that's really energy. And energy is something that a lot of people talk about, but I didn't really understand until recently. Energy is like the very essence of your being. It's actually a part of your DNA. And when we think about energy, I think about things like that I learned in school, like with chemistry, right? When you learn chemistry in high school and college, you go through like these diagrams of what different chemicals are. And you talk about how when you mix them together, they share electrons, there's protons, there's neutrons, right? And you have a map of what they look like. And you actually can see it physically. I remember in the college chemistry class that I took, the first day of class, the professor, we were in this, it almost felt like an amphitheater, but it wasn't. I mean, there was probably maybe 200 seats in there, which was a big class for me because I was used to like classes with 10 people. Um, but the professor was, when he first walked in, there was this big vial of water, and it was kind of tall and skinny, and it was like halfway full of water. So when the professor first walked in, like we hadn't even met him yet, he walks in and he has something in his hand. And I remember he said a few things, and then super unexpectedly, whatever he had in his hand, he threw it in the water and it like exploded everywhere. And everybody, like, of course, that got everybody's attention, right? We're expecting a first day, you go over the syllabus, this is what to expect in class, and then you guys can go. But no, the first day of this class, I'll never forget that because the whole thing exploded and it wasn't dangerous or anything, it was just the water went everywhere. And we learned later that it was potassium. It was pure potassium, and if you throw it into water, it explodes. So when you think about chemical reactions, um, that's usually what I think about with energy, because when you learn about chemicals, you know that those electrons, protons, neutrons, they vibrate at certain frequencies. And when they get mixed together with other chemicals, sometimes they explode. Sometimes they change colors, sometimes they get cold, sometimes they get hot. So you learn about that type of energy and it makes sense and it's practical, but you don't really think about it, right? You don't think about every single day when you're holding your computer mouse in your hand that even though it feels like a solid, if you had a good enough microscope, you could actually see the molecules that were vibrating as energy. But it feels like solid, right? So you don't think about that every single day. Well, the thing is that we as humans are made up of energy as well. We know that we have cells, we have atoms, there's molecules, it goes all the way down. And if you can see with a strong enough microscope, then you could see that we are made up of energy as well. That's why people talk about different vibrations. Most people talk about vibes. Like I just don't like her vibes, or I met this guy and he didn't really have good vibes. It kind of get mixed up a little bit with what most people call chemistry. But we're going to talk a little bit more about vibrations and more about energy as well today. So one of the easiest explanations that I can give you for energy is, like when you wake up in the morning and you just don't feel good. It's not like you're sick or anything, it's just that you're mad, you're angry, you're upset, you're irritated, and you don't even know why, because you just woke up, right? So it's not like there's anything that has caused this feeling, it's just that you feel that way, right? And so if you walk downstairs and you say good morning to your family and you're all mean and grumpy, you're casting this certain kind of energy onto everybody else. And more than likely, you're going to create a reaction from those people, right? It's also true that you're a receptor of what you believe to be true. You're a receptor of what you know and what your habits are. So just like a radio that's tuned into different channels, you are a receptor for different types of energy. So if you wake up in that bad energy a lot of the time and you spend a lot of your time focused on that energy, that becomes a habit in your life. And so it's like you're tuned into a radio channel that's bad energy, right? If you're focused on a more neutral type of energy, then that's your radio station that you're listening to most of the time. And the majority of us are focused in what's called a low vibrational energy. We're either bored or frustrated or irritated. It could be and things affect it, right? So if you have a job that you hate and you wake up every single day and the first thought that comes into your head is, ugh, I don't want to go to work. I hate my job. My boss is irritating. There's these projects I don't want to do. That's pulling you down into this negative energy. And that's how you're starting your day in this, tuned into this channel that's like a really bad vibration, right? So if you wake up like that, and then you're going to spread all of that energy into all the people that you're around. And like I said before, a lot of it comes from habit because we're just so used to feeling that way. We're just so used to that irritation, used to the annoyance, used to the I hate my job, used to the complaining about traffic, used to the I don't like the place that I live, used to the my car is annoying, I wish I had something that's nicer. It's a habit that you just roll with every single day. And your mind is addicted to it, and your body becomes addicted to it. And so, even if you realize it, even if it's annoying to you that you feel that way all the time, even if you want to change it, it's incredibly difficult to change it because you're addicted to it, right? It's a lot of times it's hard for us to understand that things could be so much easier for us, but we make them hard. We make things really, really difficult. And a lot of it comes back to energy, right? A lot of it comes back to control. We as INFJs, I read something not too long ago that said that we like to be in control. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't like to be in control. I don't need to be in control. I'm very much go with the flow. I'm very adaptable to what other people want. I don't really need to be in control. But then I started thinking about it a little bit more because I did some more research on it, and there were quite a few people who said, yeah, INFJs like to be in control. And I was like, okay, well, is there anything that I control in my life? And there were a lot of things that were like, well, I like to be in control of my environment. I like to be in control of the people that are around me. If there are people who have like seriously bad energy, just make me feel like super anxious, I don't want to be around those people. And then I started thinking about anxiety, and I'm like, ooh, I have a lot of anxiety. So I like to control the things that I know will affect my anxiety. I was talking to one of my friends, and this is a good example of energy too. I went to a concert with one of my friends a couple of months ago now, and I hadn't really met this friend in person. We'd known each other on Instagram for a while. And so it was like a great opportunity for us to meet in person. And she was one of those people who likes people. And so she knew everybody. When we went to the concert, she was like super laid back and relaxed. And we rolled up to the concert like 30 minutes before the concert started. And I was super anxious because I'm like, we're going to be late. Like, we're not going to be able to find our seats. We can't go get water. Like, I have a whole system of stuff that I like to do, and you've just messed it up. But, I'm trying to go with the flow and be like, this is totally cool. I'm totally fine, even though I'm not really fine. And then we find our seats finally, and she's going to talk to everybody, And I'm sitting there going, the concert is starting and you're like halfway across the amphitheater talking to your friends. And she did that the whole time, and it made me like so super anxious. So I was talking to one of my other friends about it later, and she was like, oh no, I have to be in control. Like, if I'm going to a concert, I need to be one of the first ones in the arena because I need to go get my water, and then I need to go to the bathroom, and then I want to find my seats, and I want to sit there for an hour before the concert starts, because that's part of the fun for me, and it has to be like controlled and structured. And I tell my friends this because I don't want to go to the concert with friends who aren't like this. And I was like, oh, we should go to concerts together because that's what I do. I have the same sort of structure, and I don't like it when people mess it up. It's examples like that that are like, yeah, I really do like to be in control. I really do need that kind of control. One of the things about energy that's difficult for us or can be difficult for us is it works best when you let go of control, when you let go of the outcome. We as INFJs, we like to plan things. We like to know what's going to happen. We become very much attached to our intuition and our ability to sort of predict the future. You know, we predict things based on people's patterns, based on what we know to be true, based on how we feel about things. And a lot of times we're really good at figuring out what's going to happen because most people do things out of habit and routine. So it's usually pretty easy once you can recognize people's habits and their routines to say, this is what's going to happen. And so because of the control and our ability to see what's going to happen, it's easy for us to get very attached to the outcomes that we want to happen. And when you're talking about energy, the best thing that you can do is to let it flow to you and to let it flow through you as well. And I have another good example of that. I started my Instagram account and my blog almost 3 years ago. And once I realized that this was something that I knew it was special to me and it had helped me so much. And so I was like, I want to help other people. And the best way that I can do that is by making this some kind of a business, because if I can make money, then I can help other people. And the more money that I can make, the more I can help other people, right? And so I became very attached to figuring out, how do I help people? What's the best way to make this a business? How can I control it and figure it out and find out all the information? And you know how good that we are at once we know what we want, then it's like, okay, I'm all in. It doesn't matter. I'll spend 60 hours a week. I'll spend 70, 80 hours a week. I'll figure this out. I'll try every single thing that people tell me works. There has to be a solution, right? And so it's like full steam ahead, trying to control every single thing, and nothing worked. And it's like, okay, I can't even begin to tell you how heartbroken and how devastated and how annoyed that I was with the whole situation, because I talked to business coaches, I talked to personal type of coaches, you know, like health and well-being type of coaches. I talked to tons of different people and I spent lots of money trying to figure it out. And I'm like, why does this not work? And then I finally figured out what the answer was. You have to be open to receiving. You have to be open to sharing your energy. You have to let go of what the outcome is. You can't just say, this is exactly what I want and this is how it's going to work and I'm not interested in anything else. You have to be open. You have to be willing. And definitely when you're talking about something like that, you have to be open to receiving. And for me, I wasn't open to receiving. I was like, I wasn't even open to receiving people reading my blog, right? When I first started out, I was like, please somebody read this. But at the same time, it's like, ooh, I really don't want anybody to read this, because I'm anxious that somebody's going to tell me something really nasty and mean. But the more that I let go of that, the more there were people that came to me. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about tomorrow, which is more of receiving and abundance. When you're open to receiving, when you're open to abundance, it just comes to you. But when you're in a lower energy, a lower vibration, it doesn't come to you. It's kind of like there's only so much that we expect out of life, right? We reach for the highest branch that we can see. And so when all of the branches that you can see are low, that's all that you reach for, because that's all that you know to be true, right? Almost like when you buy a red car and all you see are red cars, because you're looking for them when you didn't see any of them before. You didn't think anybody bought a red car. But now that you're focused on red cars, that's what you see all the time. It's the same way with energy. When you're focused on fear, when you're focused on guilt, when you're focused on annoyance and irritation, that's what you see. And when you wake up in one of those really bad moods and you're like, I'm just angry at the world today, like everything is terrible, you find more ways to be annoyed. I woke up like that last week. I don't know what the issue was because I don't usually wake up like that, and I'm not usually like that at all. But I woke up just feeling horrible, and I was late and my hair wouldn't cooperate. And I usually go to get coffee before I start working because I work from home. And of course, that day there was tons of traffic and everybody pulled out in front of me. And it was just like every single thing was building on top of, each other. And it was like just more annoyed and more angry and more irritated. And I remember driving down the road going, this feels terrible. I don't want to feel like this. Like, how do I change it? And I know how to change it now. So that's what we're going to talk about too. A lot of people tell you, fake it till you make it, right? I actually paid a counselor one time when I was diagnosed with depression. I spent probably 2 or 3 hours a week in her office. And I'm like, there has to be some kind of like step-by-step process to get out of this. I can't just sit here and talk about my feelings for the rest of my life. I don't have that kind of money, first of all. And secondly, I don't have that kind of time. And plus, every time I ended up sitting in her office, I was crying. And I hate crying, right? So I got to the point where I would cry just thinking about going to her office. And so I told her one day, I'm like, listen, I can't come here anymore. Like, if we're just going to sit here and talk about my feelings, I can't do this. I need something that is going to help me. I need some progress. I need a fix. I need, something to work on every single day because it's not working. And she goes, well, the best thing that I can tell you, like, if you want to feel better right now, is fake it till you make it. If you want to be happy, just fake it, and then you'll trick your mind into actually feeling happy. And I'm like, really? That doesn't work for me. I mean, like, I seriously paid you for this advice? And so many people tell me that too. Like, if you're not happy, just fake it till you make it. And it doesn't work. It's never worked for me, ever. So what I found recently is I don't think I can share my screen with you. I think Facebook makes you like pick either or. But I have a graphic that I'll share with you in the group as soon as the live video is done, and I'll put it in the guide as well. It talks about the vibrational scale of consciousness or of energy. So when you look at the low vibrations, you look at shame, guilt, grief, fear. All of those things have a very low frequency. And the higher frequencies are things like peace, joy, love, acceptance. Those are all high on the list. So in order to go from the things that are low vibration or low frequency to high vibration or high frequency, you have to go through being neutral. And right next to being neutral is willingness. It's being open to change. I didn't think that something that was so simple would change, but it's made such a massive change for me. I mean, it's been like, this is like the key. When I figured this out, it's like, it was everything. It's like, wait a minute, this is the way that I get to being happy. This is the way that I get to those higher vibrations, because when you're annoyed, first you have to recognize that you're annoyed, right? We talked about how acknowledging that you have a problem, like that's the first step, right? You have to recognize it. And when you recognize it, then you can say, oh, okay, now I'm angry, I'm irritated, I want to change. So what do I do? Well, you have to be willing. And in that moment, when you can say, okay, I'm angry, I don't want to be angry, I can be willing to change. One of my friends has spent 20 years going through Alcoholics Anonymous. And she has given me some of the best advice that I've ever gotten, ever, from anyone. And I told her one time after I was done, we talked for like 2 hours, and I was like, you're making me want to go through AA, even though I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life, because there are some amazing things that they teach people there. And she said that we tell people that you have to be willing to change. And if you can't be willing, if that feels too hard right now, then be willing to be willing. And there are some things in my life that's like, that's what I need. I don't know if I can be willing right now, but I can definitely be willing to be willing. I can think about being willing. I can move in that direction. Because I know that when you are open, if you're being willing to be willing, then eventually your brain is going to be okay with being willing, and you'll move into being willing, and then you can move into being happy. You can move into feeling gratitude and feeling joy, feeling happiness. So that's how you change. You have to go, you can't just go from being angry to being happy. You fake it till you make it doesn't work, right? You have to go through being open. You have to go through being willing. And the next step of the process is to sustain that change, right? Because it's easy to feel happy at times, right? You can probably think of a time, the last time that you were happy. I think about the last time I was really happy without thinking about it, without working for it, was when I went to a concert. I went to a concert, the one I was telling you about. I went to Baltimore, and then I went to Fenway Park. But as soon as the concert was over, like as soon as the guys were off stage and the lights come back up, it's like, oh, there's 40,000 people in Fenway Park that all need to get to their cars and go home. Now I'm annoyed. I was happy 2 seconds ago. Now I'm sad that the concert is over, sad that I don't have any more tickets, nothing to look forward to, and annoyed that there's a ton of people, that I have to walk a mile back to my car. I'm kind of a little bit scared because I really wasn't sure like what to expect in downtown Boston at 11 o'clock at night. And then like I parked my car in this parking garage that's attached to a mall. And I'm usually very planned and organized, but for some reason I'm walking through the mall and forgot how to get to the parking garage. So now I'm very scared and super irritated that I can't figure out how to get to my car, right? It's like, how fast did you go from being really happy to being irritated and scared and angry? Very fast. So sustaining the change in your energy becomes the difficult thing, right? And the thing about it is, on a day-to-day basis, you're only as happy as you're willing to be. You have to ask yourself, how willing are you to be happy? One of my friends is building a business around joy. And she asked me not too long ago, what do you do on a daily basis that brings you joy? And I was super embarrassed to answer the question because I was like, nothing. I don't really do anything. I don't know what brings me joy. What brings me happiness? The only thing I could come up with is like, well, I go get coffee in the morning. That brings me joy. Most of the time I would say that the community of people that I'm building with my INFJ Woman platform, a lot of those people bring me joy. For some reason, there's been this group of people on Instagram that have been attacking me recently. So as much as I want to say the community brings me joy, and there are a lot of people who do, there's also a part of it that is like, that's horrifying sometimes. And I wish that I could hire somebody to just take care of that, but then I also like, I don't want to move that energy to somebody else. So it's kind of this struggle of like, do you put somebody else in that position or do you just deal with it yourself? Well, right now I just deal with it myself. But you're only as happy as you're willing to be, right? So Brene Brown has done some research about happiness and joy. She had this experience where she was having dinner with her husband and she was super happy and excited in the moment. And like 2 seconds later, she's worried and anxious about her kids and, started like her mind starts attacking her almost like with all this anxiety of what if you forget what's going on in the moment and you like leave your purse somewhere? What if your house burns down? What if you get into a car accident on the way home? And so she started in that moment, she's like, why can't I be happy for a long period of time? Why is it that as soon as I feel happiness, within 4 to 5 seconds, fear starts to creep back in? And she said that she found in her research that happiness and joy are the most difficult emotions to feel and to sustain. That 9 times out of 10, when people feel joy and happiness, that within 4 to 5, 6 seconds, fear comes back in. And the thing is that it's your brain that's trying to protect you. Your brain that's telling you, hey, this isn't normal. And remember the last time that you felt happiness and then something really bad happened? So let's not feel happiness. Let's think about the bad thing that could happen. That feels more normal. That's habit, right? The way that she found to sustain joy is through gratitude, though. When you go through gratitude, when you start to feel joy, if you surrender to gratitude, then you can sustain the joy for longer. It's one of those tricks that you can use to get around your brain, to stop feeling, stop leaning into the fear, stop choosing fear. Gabby Bernstein talks a lot about willingness, and then she talks about choosing too. So are you choosing fear or are you choosing gratitude? A lot of times, like I've said over and over again, it's a habit. It's, especially if you have anxiety, you're just so used to fear. You're so used to anxiety. You're so used to imagining worst case scenario. I used to tell people, my mom in particular would tell me, you're such a pessimist. And I'm like, that's not true. I'm a realist. And I was like really attached to being a realist. Because if you're a realist, then you think about what could happen and you think about it realistically. So you can be prepared when something bad happens, right? But if you're an optimist, you're just focused on the good things all the time. And if something bad happens, then it's like surprising and it's disappointing. But if you're just expecting something bad to happen, then you're prepared for it. And so you're not disappointed and you're not heartbroken. You're prepared for it. But the other part of energy is, and the part of habits is, remember that you're addicted to these feelings that you have, because those feelings create chemical changes in your body, chemical and hormonal changes, and your emotions are actually learned behaviors. The emotions that you feel every single day are just a representation of what you've always felt. And so you get addicted through the chemical changes, through the hormonal changes, you get addicted to feeling what you've always felt. So if you were attached to being a pessimist or a realist, like I was, you're never giving yourself the opportunity for the optimism, right? You're never giving yourself the opportunity for something good to happen, for best case scenario, because you're so looking for the real version of what could happen. You miss out on the magic. You miss out on the opportunity for something great because you're so attached to what's realistic. And because you're always looking for the realistic, that's all that that's what you're going to see. Just like, like we talked about, if you're looking for a red car, you're going to find tons of red cars. If you're looking for what's realistic, if you're looking for worst case scenario, that's what you're going to see. Sustaining happiness, sustaining that feeling of being happy, of being in joy, it takes practice. It takes expansion. It takes work to choose gratitude over fear. It takes work to choose love over fear. A lot of people don't want to hear that, right? We want the quick fix. We want Advil that's going to take away our headache in 30 minutes and we don't have to do anything else. We don't want to be told like, hey, you have to go to the gym. If you want muscles, you have to like work on them every single day. It's like a daily practice for the rest of your life. That's difficult. That's like, ugh, I thought this was going to be easy. But it only feels difficult in the beginning, right? My dad always tells me everything's hard until you learn how to do it. And it's true. It really is true. I remember when I started driving, I was like, this is the worst thing. Like, how can people do this? You have to look at all the mirrors and you have to like my foot used to hurt, my ankle, because I wasn't used to holding it at that angle and pushing down on the pedals, right? So it was irritating and it was frustrating and I really wasn't very good at it because I hated it. And because I hated every single aspect of it, like every time somebody criticized me, it was the worst thing in the world. And of course, I strongly believe now, all of those feelings, that was why when I first started driving by myself, I got into a massive accident because I was just so scared and so irritated by everything and so positive that that was going to happen that that's what actually did happen. And then after that, my parents were even more like, you need to start driving like right now. And I'm like, no, I'm never going to drive again. And they're like, no, you need to get back in the car and you need to keep practicing. Keep doing it until you get better. And nowadays, like, it's not even a thing. I don't really even have to think about it, right? It's not something that I worry about or stress about because I've been driving now for, 20 years. Ooh, that makes me sound old. But it really has been that long. So when you're talking about feeling good and feeling happiness, it takes practice, it takes expansion, but the more that you do it, the more that you're able to feel it. So I want to challenge you to see if you can feel good for 10 whole minutes today without feeling any fear, without dipping back into those lower emotions. When you feel the resistance, because inevitably you will feel the fear, you'll feel the anxiety, your brain will start giving you all this back talk of what's normal. Lean more into the gratitude and see if you can sustain it for longer. So that's what we're doing this week. Once you know who you want to be, once you know what energy that you want to be in, how you want to feel every single day, what you want to look forward to, once you know how much you're willing to feel that, then that's where you can start to see the change. You can get to where you want to be. You can get to a new normal that's actually a happier normal rather than an irritated or an angry normal. And you can live a whole lot different life when you're looking for the good things rather than the realistic things. When you're looking for what's possible, it's like, you reach for the highest branch that you can see, but if you can expand what you can see, then there's a lot higher branches up there that are available. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about stepping into abundance, which is another one of those things that's kind of like energy. You don't need this massive change. You need just like a little change, a little thing that will get you over, that will change everything if you can just make a tiny little adjustment. So speaking of happier, we have some prizes to give away for our homework. Just in case you're new here, you weren't here the last couple of days, there's homework every single day that's posted in the group, and there's giveaways for each one of them. I know homework is kind of like a little bit annoying, but the point of these workshops is to help you get a transformation, is to help you get a change. And homework is one of those things that will help you get a change. There's so many people who talk about taking action, right? So when you learn something new, it's easy to say, oh yeah, that was great, and then not do anything with it. But if you really want to change, you have to start taking action right away. And homework is one of those things that will help you get there. So today I have a card deck from Gabby Bernstein. It looks like this. This isn't the actual one. This is mine. But you will get one of these, which is super awesome. I actually love it. It's like these affirmations that are on there. And if you listen to Gabby Bernstein's podcast, at the beginning of every podcast, she draws a card that directs the podcast for that day. And I love doing it too, especially if I'm in one of those moods where it's like, okay, I need to shift. Then it kind of gives you something to look for. So there's two people, actually, two winners today that are getting a card deck. That card deck, it's the Super Attractor one. And also somebody is getting a full scholarship to my signature program, and somebody is also getting a partial scholarship. So while I'm giving away these scholarships, I just wanted to take a second to tell everybody who won what the program is all about, because like, how do you know if you even want this thing if you don't even really know what it is? And we're going to talk a lot more about my program later this week, but I mean, I'm giving away these scholarships and I've gotten some questions because I've mentioned it a couple of times, so I want to be like super transparent with you guys. People have been asking me about it, and the program is called This Is Me. So I've decided that I'm going to give you a little bit of a head start and tell you what exactly it is. Kind of a sneak peek. If you really want to find out all the details, you can go to infjwoman.com/thisisme. You can enroll today, even though I'm going to be opening the doors later this week. And if you're saying like, what in the world is this? I'll tell you more about it later this week, but I just want to give you just a little bit of a taste of what it is. There's a lot of online programs nowadays, but this is not like an online course. It's not just this thing where you have a bunch of videos and you go watch them and then you have to do all the work on your own. It's nothing that's pre-recorded. This is me with you live, except we're on Zoom, of course, because COVID nowadays, and because so many of you live in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. But we're gonna walk together from where you are right now to where you want to be. And it's not information at all, it's transformation. And I'm there with you multiple times. It's a 12-week program, so every single week we'll be there with me showing up, because I love the work that I do. I love being here with you guys. It feels like oxygen for me. It's definitely what I was made to do, for sure. So by the end of the 12 weeks, you're going to have a transformation. You're going to have the recipe, all the tools that you need to sustain happiness and confidence, and to find abundance in your life, to step into who you were really made to be. You'll have a vision of yourself that you already knew was there. You probably already have this vision in your head, this person that you want to be. You know, as INFJs, we're so good at thinking about the future, of looking to what's in our future, of planning and hoping for change. I know that you have this version, and I want to help you get there. A lot of times we think that we can do this work by ourselves, and I'm absolutely positive that you can. I know that you're very, very, very good at research and organization and figuring things out, but it's so much easier, so much faster to walk with somebody who's already been down that road. It's kind of like when you're going to a new place, you know, when you're going to a new restaurant out to eat with your friends. You can find the restaurant, you have a map on your phone, everybody does. But in order to figure out exactly how to get there, you have to follow the map, and then you have to decide where to park, and then you have to figure out what's the right door to get into this building, because especially if you live in a city like I do, a lot of times it's not clearly marked, and so you come to these points where there's like confusion. But when you have somebody who's been there, when you have somebody who's gone through the same things, they can say, listen, this is the way to go, this is faster. This is where you need to park. Even though it might be a little bit further away, it's actually way better. This is the exact door that you need to go into. And oh, by the way, this restaurant, this is the best thing to order. This is what you need to focus on. Not all of this other stuff. Maybe you're worried about all this other stuff, but maybe this one thing that you focus on, that'll fix all of those other things. And that's really where your focus needs to be. So throughout this program, every single week, there is a live session with me on Zoom. And then you're also going to get assigned to small groups of accountability partners. And I know in the beginning this sounds kind of like a little bit much, because a lot of INFJs, if you're like me, I'm like 90% introverted. So the last thing that I want is to have to be introduced to people that I don't know and to have to talk to them, especially on video, because it's kind of weird and awkward. But I've been through programs before, and I included this in mine because it was literally the best thing. It was like, I was in this program, there were 6 of us that were supposed to be in this group, and 3 people couldn't be bothered to show up, and one of them showed up every once in a while. But the one who did show up became one of my really good friends, because we were there, we were going through the same things, we were experiencing the same things, and it makes so much difference to share the experience with somebody else. And also, one of the things that INFJs tell me the most, the people who email me and direct message me, they tell me that it's really difficult to make friends. And I know that because I've been there too. And one of the best ways that I've made friends is through my Instagram account, my blog, through the courses that I do, because it's INFJs. It's people who they understand your personality because it's them. They experience a lot of the same things. So you don't have to spend a lot of time explaining to them like what intuition is, because they just get it. When you say, I feel this way, they get it. They understand it because they've done the same thing. They've been through the same things. So I think that's going to be one of the best parts of this course. And one of the things that makes it different is you have people there with you who are the same personality type that you are, who are going through the same struggles. And just hearing somebody say, me too, makes a huge difference. So it's not just videos that you watch and you're on your own. There's a lot of hand-holding and support through this whole thing, which is so helpful. It's me that's real-time coaching every single week, accountability partners. It'll be a huge transformation. It's not just information. It's that person that you want to be in your head. That person can be a reality. It just takes a few small changes to get there, and a little bit of accountability. So the program starts October 12th, which is a couple of weeks away. And there you go. That's what it is. I'm so very excited. And now 2 of you are getting scholarships. So there's already 2 people in the group waiting for the rest of you guys. So the first winner who is getting a full scholarship is Gina Glenn. Congratulations. You're getting a full scholarship and the card deck that we talked about. And the second winner is Sarah Belcher. And Sarah, you're getting the card deck and then a partial scholarship for the group as well. So congratulations to both of you. I'm going to reach out to you and get your addresses so I know where to send everything to. Tomorrow I'm giving away another full scholarship for doing the homework, and then also a journal from Emily McDowell, which I love. I think I have one because like I love it so much that I use it myself. I have like a journal collection. I don't know if you guys do, but I do. I think this is the one that it looks like. So it says there's no such thing as fear of failure, which I absolutely love. All right, so that's our prizes. Come back tomorrow and the next day because it's a 5-day challenge, right? And there's never a point where this turns into some kind of a webinar where I'm selling you something for a whole hour. I don't work that way. I don't want to be that way. I'm not very good at selling things, so I'm not going to do that for a whole hour for sure. It's not something that would be fun anyway. I've sat through those things. I sat through one of them that was 3 hours long, and I finally gave up because I was like, I don't know how you can even talk for 3 hours, let alone how anybody sits through them. So come back tomorrow because we're going to talk about having an abundant life. And so yeah, that's what I have for today. So I hope that you guys have a good Wednesday, and congratulations to Sarah and to Gina, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. So you just watched that video and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.